Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, and I told you that we start looking at working on tractors. And right now we have a Ford 2000. Came in, belongs belongs to the customer's grandparents or did, and he'd like to see it going again. And I asked him how long ago it ran, and he said it'd been at least 4 or 5 years. So where do we start on something like that, 6-volt system. He said if we could get it running, he'd like to convert it over to 12, which we normally do. Is 12 volt is a lot better. It's a little more money, but it's a lot better in the long run. Turns the engine over faster. So what we did was we brought it in, and there was no gas in the gas tank, which was a good thing. We ended up taking and doing a compression check, and we had just about 100 to 110 on all the cylinders, so we knew it had compression. We checked to see if it was firing, and it was firing, so we had to file the points a little bit on it, but it's firing good. So the first thing we did was we ended up taking the carburetor off because the carburetor needed to be rebuilt. It was just terrible inside. And actually the sediment bowl we had to throw away. We went ahead and did that, and we poured gas into the tank and opened the petcock, and nothing would come out. What we ended up doing was we took the fuel line that come down to the carburetor and ended up shooting air with the air compressor air gun back up to the tank, and then we started seeing a good flow. So we hooked the carburetor all back up, fired up, and was running. We ended up having to replace the coil. We went with a 12-volt coil, went with a 12-volt battery. We've got an alternator on order right now. It'll be here probably Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. We cleaned the oil bath and the air filter. The hose was bad on coming from the air breather to the carburetor, so we ended up, I had a donor tractor on the hill that we could borrow that off from. He had us do a complete service, make sure the PTO, 3-point hitch, all that ran. So where we're at with this one right now is just simply putting an alternator on it, and it's ready to go to the customer. These are the ones I like to see, where they come in and are right back out, and the customer is thrilled at what he or she has to spend. So I know I told you we'd be doing, actual repairs on stuff, but we got tied up this week. What I can do is I can show you how, when we get the new alternator in, how to build your brackets and put them on. As far as how to change things over to a 12 volt, it's just simply, you have to put a 12 volt internal resistor coil on it. And then you have the alternator is just a 1-wire feed. We've got it set up here so that we're running off. We had a battery sitting here that's on a charger. Here's the old generator. It wasn't putting out anyways. And this is what they had concocted for the air breather tube. We end up swapping out the 6-volt for the 12-volt internal resistor. And everything else is good. I mean, this is your power steering, where you add the fluid to it. This is your hydraulic pump. This is your coil, distributor. Your points and condensers are inside. Pretty simplistic, these older ones. Bring you around this way. Like I say, we rebuilt the whole carburetor. Brand new oil filter on it. This is the starter. Exhaust manifolds, or intake manifolds. The exhaust are here. This here, this air breather, should have like a steel wool in the bottom and just 10W30. And that collects all the dirt and dust into here to get filtered so that you don't have it running through your machine. Clutch, this is how you start it. This is your PTO. And on the back, this is where you hook up your center linkage. This is your 3-point hitch right here. This is your PTO shaft. For you guys that are using these for brush hogging, I recommend that you buy the adapter so that when you shut the PTO off, that it's able to free spin when you're using brush hog, because if not, they'll take your transmission right out on you. I mean, it's got good tires, good tire chains. It's a nice looking machine. So hopefully, I mean, I'm going to get you into more detail, but like I say, we got kind of in a hurry and wanted to get it done, get some money coming into the shop. So we've been jumping from here to here to here on the brand new Massey Ferguson that the guy kind of screwed up. So what we ended up doing was, a friend of ours that also works on farm tractors, we put word out to all of our friends, and what they come back with is to retap the hydraulic filter piece here, and this threads right in. So we just need to tap the cast to this one. If that doesn't work, we have this style. You can get it out of the bag. We have this style, but I'm more inclined to think that this is the one that's going to work, but we'll find out soon enough. And we've got this Polaris tractor, and we don't work on very many Polarises because it's hard to get parts for them. But on this one, he's telling us that it's leaking on the front axle. So what we did yesterday was we pressure washed it all off so we could see. And that's water, so it's not leaking from there. So it's got to be leaking from down there. So that's just simply, there's a cap on the bottom, taking that off and re-silicone in it. The other side looks good. And then the other complaint that he had was having hydraulic fluid coming from somewhere in here. And these have O-rings on them. So we may have to just take and figure out which one is leaking by running it and using it. And then just replacing the O-rings. But this is a 532. I think this is probably the second Polaris tractor I've had come in since we started the shop, and that's quite a while ago. We don't see too many of these Russian-made tractors, and finding parts is harder than heck. But that's why this one's here. When we talk about small engine, customer dropped this off this morning. It's a Husqvarna, got the 18 horse Kawasaki engine on it. Said that it'll run good and then it'll run rough. So what we ended up doing was we put a spark tester on both cylinders. And when it was running good, we had a good strong spark on both of them. But when it went into its fit, this one started getting lighter. So we know this is the culprit. Whether we need to replace the coil on it or see how far it is from the flywheel to make sure that it hasn't loosened up. But he uses this every week and he's had really good luck with it. So this is popping the cover off and checking the distance between the coil itself and the flywheel to make sure that it's getting good contact. This one here, we had dropped off and they said that they didn't want to put over 150 bucks into it. And I told Claude, I said, well, let's see what we can do. I mean, I had to put a $92 starter on it that we had in stock. Now it's running. We got the other front tire, it's coming, we're breaking it down, putting a new tire on it. And just simply giving it a tune-up. I mean, It's got these neat ag tires on it. You don't see them too often, because most guys want turf. This would be great if you're going into the woods and bringing firewood out or something, I guess. But that one's simply getting the tire back on it and get some fresh fuel on it. But as you can see, we've been doing some cleaning up around the shop. You know, it's a lot better than it was. We've got this wood splitter the customer brought in and said it caught on fire and it needed to be rewired. So we went ahead and we've got it wired up, but they've got it hooked to an electric solenoid instead of the manual that runs off the engine. So I end up ordering a new fuel pump for this so we can bypass the electric. What was happening is it was just shooting gas the minute you turn the key switch on, which told us, one, the carburetor on it needed to have the float and needle and seat checked to see why it was allowing it to come through in the first place. And then just we're going to go back to the old style, what it should be. And the customer's real happy. He said he's had it for over 30 years, and he said it will split a lot of firewood in a hurry. And he's a logger, so you can tell she's been through the ringer and back. But that's how we rounded out the week. You know, we're getting busier. And I'm gonna have to get some actual videos of Claude working on stuff, because you guys will start laughing the minute. Because like I say, he's at 71 now, where he doesn't care what he says. And I'm gonna have to bleep him out quite a bit on the videos. I found that if I cut the take, I can mute that section. So maybe I'll try that, because I don't want YouTube banning me for, you know, bad language. On that note, we'll catch you on the next video.